Our third playoff game of the weekend takes us out to the beautiful city of Austin, Texas. Brad and I had an opportunity to go out there in October. Brad went to Formula One, but was still rooting on the dogs. I was at the game, watched Georgia play an interesting matchup, comes out with a win, where the number 12 Clemson Tigers come into town to take on the number 5 Texas Longhorns. Another Saturday afternoon kickoff at 4 p.m. on TNT/Max. Texas favored in this one by a whopping 12 points heading into DKR Texas Memorial Stadium. All eyes are on Texas. No pun intended, but maybe pun intended. I forget how the song goes, but you know what I'm talking about, Brad, and fans as well. Brad, this is an interesting matchup. Before I turn it over to you, first of all, two teams that played Georgia in the regular season both lost. Texas losing twice, once in regular season, one in the SEC Championship game. Clemson gets blown out by Georgia. They have common opponents. You have to wonder, maybe they watch film of those two games to see if they can get a competitive advantage based on those game films. Even though it's different game plans, I get it, but maybe there's some takeaways from those films. Secondly, this is not the first time that Cade Klubnik and Quinn Ewers have faced off. First time was in high school, as you know. They played in the state championship game where Cade Klubnik came away with the win over, and I forget the high school that Quinn Ewers went to, but Westlake beat Quinn Ewers High School.
Was it Southlake Carroll, I believe?
I think that's it, yes.
Yeah.
But either way, Cade Klubnik 1-0 in this matchup. Can Quinn Ewers get revenge in his senior year of college? I think it's a senior year. Either way, he's going pro. Maybe. NIL. I've heard rumors, but we'll see. Heard rumors he might transfer for $4 million. We'll see. But Brad, thoughts on this game and who comes out on top in this marquee matchup? These are two great brands of football.
Absolutely, Nate. And I was just heard that this is the first time these two teams have played. And Texas has always been, a powerhouse of college football. Of course, Clemson, the last 10 years it's really come up. So one of the just premier matchups. I'm really excited for this one. Couple of notes. Yeah, you mentioned these two quarterbacks going up against each other. Again, was reading that they're friends. Cade Klubnik returning to Austin, which is really, really cool. And hats off to Dabo Swinney and Clemson. Of course, I know Cade has been there a couple of years, but plucked him right out from Texas nose. So great job by that staff to get him. Going to be an incredible atmosphere there in Austin at DKR. For all the Texas fans that are going to be, going to a home game, and all the Clemson fans traveling, hope you guys eat some brisket for me.
Yes, Franklin's barbecue.
Nate, I feel like I need to do a barbecue episode.
Let's do it.
I joke with my wife all the time that if I ever got a chance to move to Texas, I would, just because of the barbecue. But anyway, I digress. This is one. In our other three matchups, I feel like. And I don't think, besides the Tennessee-Ohio State game, I don't think that any of them are just going to be, lighting up the scoreboard. But I will be honest, I could see this game, and in my opinion, I think you're looking at like a 17-14, 21-17 type game. And that's not to say that both offenses are not good. I just think we're talking about, as far as these first-round matchups, these two defenses are really, really elite. With Texas, obviously with Colin Simmons, with Anthony Hill, with that Texas front seven, I mean, we saw it against Georgia. They are just, they're good. I mean, this front seven is really, really good. Their back four, that secondary is very, very talented. And then, of course, with Clemson, with TJ Parker, with Peter Woods. Nate, the thing that stands out to me about this game is it's going to be field position. It's going to be turnovers. I mean, one thing that stands out to me about Texas, you saw Georgia in the SEC Championship. Georgia finally started to make a couple of big plays. Trevor Etienne had a big run, but Georgia just had to drive the ball, and that's not easy to do against Texas. And same thing against Clemson. You have to drive the ball on these two teams. And Nate, I will say, I like Quinn Ewers. I'm a fan of his, but I think Cade Klubnik is the better quarterback. I think he's playing better, and I that's no disrespect to Quinn Ewers, but I think something that showed in the I think something that showed in the Georgia game is Quinn Ewers has got to have I don't know that he can win the game. I think he has got to have a good running game. Now, I will say I do think he's got better playmakers. I'm curious to see the health of Isaiah Bond, but look, Texas has got to get their running back Wisner going. I mean, Georgia shut him down. They've got to get Gunnar Helm going. They're very talented tight end. This is intriguing. I don't agree all with this 12-point spread. I think this is going to be a touchdown or less ball game. I ultimately think because this one's at Texas, and I think Texas has just got a few more playmakers than Clemson, I think Texas wins. I think the Texas defense is going to just start to force some 3-and-outs there in the third quarter and fourth quarter, and the field position wins this one. But Nate, this one's going to be very, very close. I think, I know Clemson's got 3 losses, but you look at, they lost to Georgia. They lost to Louisville. I will say that those 2 offenses, I think, do some similar things to what Texas does. And then their last loss against South Carolina, where Lenore Sellers just absolutely tore up that defense. I think this is a game that Clemson matches up well. But like I said, I think just ultimately the weapons of Texas and the Texas front 7 just ends up making this a field position game, and Texas wins. In my opinion, don't agree with the spread. I think Texas wins a close one on Saturday.
Yeah, Brad. The spread is interesting to me. Does Vegas know something that we don't know?
I don't know, man. I just don't know. I don't agree with the 12. Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, and it's a lot of disrespect to Clemson too. And that's not to say that Clemson's going to win this game, but I mean, and it's funny too, because I was going to ask you, like, if you were the head coach of one of these teams, would you rather have Cade Klubnik or Quinn Ewers? You answered it.
Yeah, I would take Cade right now.
Yeah,
to be honest.
AKA Boney, had to mention that from Uncle Buck. Boney's going to be playing another week. We're excited. We didn't think he would make it this far, and here he is. Excited to see Cade Klubnik play again. But no, here's the thing for me, Brad. As I'm thinking back throughout the season, and I think back to that Clemson Georgia game. I was at that game too, and what I noticed was, and throughout the other games at Clemson, when there's pressure put against Cade Klubnik, he freaks out. Like he's not a poised guy. If you sit back and play zone, he's got the arm talent and the accuracy to pick you apart. Like he's a good quarterback. He's a good dual threat quarterback. So I think that's a big key to look at in this matchup. Another thing that worries me too, Brad, is the lack of Clemson's run game. It's been atrocious this year. You can say what you want, but it's not the run game that we've been used to seeing from Clemson in years past. So they're going to have to make up for that run game. How do they do that? Through special teams. They're going to have to come up with some plays in special teams, whether that's better field position, maybe throw a surprise onside kick in there. They're going to have to do something. If Clemson's going to win this game, they're going to have to stick to what they've been doing, but they're also going to have to throw in a few trick plays, maybe a few special teams. I don't know. They're going to have to move the ball differently than they have in the past if they're going to win this game. And then you look at Texas. The question mark that I have, Brad, is by the end of this game, will Arch Manning be starting? Because you mentioned the game against South Carolina with Lenore Sellers absolutely dominating against Clemson. Well, you know who looks like Lenore's? Maybe not exactly the same physical playing type, but has the capabilities. That's Arch Manning. Arch Manning gives you the ability to do what South Carolina did against Clemson. So don't be surprised, especially with a little extra time under Texas' belt to get prepared for this game. Don't be surprised if Arch Manning has a few packages thrown into this game. I really do think we didn't see him against Georgia. Everyone thought we'd see him against Georgia.
And that's a good point. And Nate, just real quick before I get back over to you, everyone, I think Sark took a little bit of heat because everyone saw what Tech did to Georgia, and then they ran Arch Manning. I know it may have only been one time. So before I turn it back over to you, I think that's going to be important, especially with this Clemson front four. Arch is not the runner that Sellers is, but he's physical enough. They need to have some packages for him.
They have to. I mean, it's so fascinating. You look at like Ohio State versus Michigan. I know we're going to talk about Ohio State in a minute, but just as an example, Ohio State has some of the most dynamic playmakers on the outside. And what did Chip Kelly do? He went away. Well, and they had one of the best run games. But what he did the complete opposite, right? He kept putting Will Howard in situations that weren't fit for his playing style. And so I wonder if Texas can get back to that playing style of being that physical up front team that dominates the line of scrimmage, and then from there can push their way down the field, can put Quinn Ewers in some play action passes because, I mean, I don't want to compare him to Kirk Cousins, but in some way, like Quinn Ewers is not an elite runner. He benefits from the play action pass. He benefits from the block and release of their tight end, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. Helms, I think.
Gunnar Helm. Yeah, Gunnar Helm.
So, like, if Texas wants to win this game, they got to be the more physical team. They gotta establish it up front, punch Clemson in the mouth. If you punch Cade Klubnik in the mouth, he's not going to respond well, and we've seen it all year. And that's nothing against Cade. I think he's a great quarterback. I think Boney does a great job. Shout out Uncle Buck again. But I think in the end, like, I'm going to take Texas Longhorns. And in disagreement with you, Brad, I think if Texas does play the way they're supposed to play at home in DKR Stadium, that stadium's a cool stadium, man. I know you didn't get to go inside of it, but, man, when I went there, it was electric from start to finish. The crowd's great. They know how to keep the crowd engaged throughout the whole game with fan experience. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. Texas is going to be up for this one, and if they are, I think they're going to cover the spread. I think they really do. I think they cover the 12-point spread. Could be wrong, but if they play like they're supposed to, they should beat them at 14. Let us know down in the comments who you think is going to come out on top between these two caliber teams in Austin, Texas. Clemson versus Texas. Who comes out on top Saturday afternoon? Let us know down in the comments.